Okay, let me get this out of the way. Yes, this is yet another sad case of continuous Hollywood whitewashing. But the sad thing is, it's not the whitewashing that you expect or that it looks like. It's actually something very different and very more annoying entirely, but that involves spoilers, which I would much rather get to towards the end of the review. Now, before I talk about my feelings on this movie, I want to make something very clear. I don't have a problem with Scarlett Johansson. I love her. She's a great actress and a very great person and a totally badass feminist icon. Cool. But I don't have a lot of good things to say about this movie, and I'm afraid that that's all going to reflect on my feelings on Scarlett Johansson, and I really don't want that to. So before I talk about this movie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Scarlett Johansson, I'm going to put her in the safety barrier, and leave her right in this corner here. So from here on in, she is safe and exempt from all the negative things I have to say about this movie. See, this isn't a bad film because it casts a white woman in what should have been a role for a Japanese or a Japanese-American actress. No. It's a bad movie for completely different reasons. And if you will kindly sit back and relax for a moment, I will happily explain why. For those of you who may not already know, this is actually a remake of a classic Japanese anime film from 1995. Directed by Mamoru Oshii and based upon the manga by Shiro Masamune, it's a neo-noir cyberpunk espionage police thriller that follows a group of android detectives who are basically human that are part of a special police force called Section 9 that specializes in investigating cybercrimes. During said investigation of such crimes, the main character, known mostly as the Major, is trying to figure out exactly how human she really is. See, in addition to being an entertaining, fun, fascinating mystery, it's also a deep philosophical discussion on the nature of duality, individualism, and the very essence of personhood. A person's ghost, as it were. To this day, it stands as one of the greatest technological achievements in both animation and storytelling, as it has inspired and influenced countless other cyberpunk stories ever since. In other words, it is the anime equivalent to Blade Runner. Which I realize is kind of ironic considering how much of an impact that Blade Runner has actually had on Japan.
Пропускает кислорода, 2 раза больше, чем Unicorn EX. Да. Superfit Form! Medicon Super EX, 新登場.
Oh yeah. Now, when Roger Ebert reviewed this movie back when it initially came out, he did mention that it was too philosophical and too complicated for a mainstream audience. Which I suppose I would have to agree with, as good of a film as it is, and as much as I absolutely love it, it's not something that's very easy to sell to most general audiences. Not that it would imply that it thinks the audience is stupid, just that a lot of the themes and philosophies that it explores is not really something that most people want to go to the movies for. I have a different opinion about that whole statement personally, but that's a discussion for another time. And as much as I would love to continue talking about this wonderful film, we're not here to talk about it. We're here to talk about this one. The Americanized remake starring Scarlett Johansson. Now, you might be wondering, why did I even bother to see this if I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to like it? And I didn't really want to support this horrendously bad, deadly road that Hollywood is going down with constant remakes and reboots and this. Well, the best answer I can give is because I'm a film critic. I have to see the movie to give it a proper judgment. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to tell you guys if a movie was worth your time or not. So by seeing the movie and telling all of you about it, I'm able to either save you some money or guide you towards putting your money towards something that's actually worth it. And sadly, this isn't it. Okay, first things first, the positive aspects. And yes, there are actually a couple. The visuals in the film are absolutely gorgeous. The set design, the CGI used to create the holograms, the bits of technology that are used throughout the universe and the robots that inhabit it along with the humans. It's amazing. It actually looks like a properly realized anime film brought to life. The cinematography is totally beautiful. The lighting style, the color palette, and the general fluidity of the camera movement is wonderful. And in all honesty, Scarlett Johansson is okay as the Major. Well, actually I shouldn't call her the Major, but more on that in a moment. Her character in the movie is not really all that interesting or well developed, but her performance is still very spot on, as it usually is. Which is actually the same way I feel about Ben Affleck as Batman. Bad characterization, but good performance. Which by default would make Scarlett Johansson the best part of the entire movie. but not exactly. See, there are really two big issues with this movie that make it unbelievably horrible. For starters, it throws away the majority of the deep, interesting philosophical discussions and intriguing mystery from the first film in favor of a standard revenge story. See, the main story of the remake centers around Scarlett Johansson's character, who is, in this movie, a human brain that has been successfully transplanted into a fully robotic body. She has no real memory of her past, and spends most of the movie trying to figure that out. See, in the movie, she's told that she was a refugee rescued from a terrorist attack, but they couldn't save her body, so they transplanted her brain to a robot. Which, of course, turns out to not be the case. And here's where the spoiler warning has to come up. If you don't want to hear the spoiler, please mute your sound until this picture goes away, as when I am no longer talking about the spoiler, the picture will vanish. Okay? Okay, spoilers inbound in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it turns out that the robotics company was actually abducting people off the streets and taking their brains out of their bodies, forcibly putting them into robotic bodies, and creating false memories to try and see if they could succeed in taking brains and making robots out of them. The major part of this twist is that her character is actually Japanese. Yeah. In the movie, they took the brain of a Japanese girl, put it in a robotic body, washed it in white milk, and then made it look like a white woman. And the most annoying thing about that is that the movie doesn't seem to realize how much of a bad implication that is. I mean, you can make the argument that because robots technically don't have a race, so there's no real racism intended, but the fact of the matter still remains that it's a Japanese person being turned into a white person. And frankly, I am insulted that no one on the production team seems to have put any thought into that. And now end spoilers. Now, if they just made this different storyline interesting, it wouldn't have been a problem, except every plot point that we hit, minus the one I just spoiled earlier, you've seen done in every other movie like this, and even better in some cases. The word that best describes this experience is monotonous. As gorgeous and as well done as the atmosphere and the production design and cinematography is, you've seen it done better elsewhere. As somewhat excitingly fascinating as the general storyline is, you've seen it done better somewhere else before. And as cool as Scarlett Johansson looks, you've seen her look cooler in a better movie. Also, I refuse to call her character in this movie the Major because she is not the Major. The Major in the original Japanese film is a total badass who is totally competent at her job and does not take any crap from anybody. Meanwhile, Scarlett Johansson's character in this movie is whiny, mopey, and seems to be only half confident at her job because she gets beaten down and captured by the bad guys 3 times. It is so monotonous and filled with so many cliches and tropes that frankly, this movie's title should have been replaced with a serial number. So I'm very sorry to say that despite my love for Scarlett Johansson, both as an actress and as a person, this movie is just unbelievably, disappointingly horrible. I do not recommend you see this at all. But you know what is playing in theaters right now that's actually surprisingly good? The Power Rangers movie. So go see that instead. Ladies and gentlemen, I am TheNorm, telling you when Hollywood gets things wrong, and when they get things right. Thank you all for watching.